All right, today we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most influential and, yeah, controversial thinkers of the modern age, Sigmund Freud. Let's dive in.
Right? Of course you have. We use these terms all the time without even thinking about where they came from. They just feel like common sense now. But a little over a century ago, these ideas were absolutely earth-shattering. And all of these now common ideas, they all trace back to this one guy. Now, whether you think he was a genius or maybe a bit of a quack, there's no denying it. Sigmund Freud totally changed how we talk about our minds, our childhoods, and what's really driving us.
So first up, let's talk about Freud in our everyday lives. You might be surprised just how massive his cultural footprint really is.
For this explainer, we're just going to hit the essentials, the greatest hits of Freud. That classic image you have of a patient on a couch talking to a therapist? Yeah, that was him. The idea that your childhood pretty much defines who you are as an adult? Him too. He gave us a whole new language to understand ourselves, and we are absolutely still using it every single day.
Okay, now for the big one. Let's try to unlock the unconscious. We're about to get into Freud's single biggest idea, the one that really truly shook the foundations of Western thought.
You see, before Freud, the whole philosophy, thanks to thinkers like Descartes, was pretty straightforward. Our conscious, rational mind was in the driver's seat. We are what we think. Our identity is built on logic and awareness. It's all very neat and tidy.
But then Freud comes along and just torpedoes that whole idea. He said that the conscious mind, the part of you that's listening to me right now, is actually just a tiny, tiny fraction of what's really going on. It's just the tip of a giant hidden iceberg.
And this is the absolute core of everything for Freud, the unconscious mind. He saw it as this huge, hidden reservoir of all our primal feelings, our repressed memories, and these powerful urges that we have absolutely no idea are there, but they secretly guide our every single move.
And just how much are we talking about? How much is guided by this hidden force? Well, Freud believed it was the vast majority. More than 80%, he argued, of our actions are driven not by conscious choice, but by the mysterious commands of the unconscious.
I mean, just think about that for a second. Everything we think of as us, our logic, our plans, our rational decisions, that's all happening in that little 15% sliver. According to Freud, the rest of it, that massive submerged part of the iceberg, that's the unconscious, and it's secretly pulling all the strings.
And deep down in our minds, there's this constant battle raging. On one side, you've got the id. It's pure instinct, the toddler inside all of us that wants what it wants, right now. On the other side is the superego. That's your conscience, the voice of your parents and society telling you all the rules. And who's caught in the middle? The poor ego, trying to be the mediator and make everyone happy.
Okay, so we've got this hidden mind. It's full of all these conflicting desires. But where did those desires even come from? Well, this is where Freud's ideas go from just revolutionary to truly explosive.
Freud's most explosive theory was this. Almost every problem an adult has, every neurosis, every fear, every strange desire, it can all be traced back to what happened to you as a very young child. He said we all go through these psychosexual stages of development, and each one is centered on a different kind of physical pleasure.
So it all starts with the oral stage, where a baby's world is all about the mouth. Then comes the anal stage, which is all about, well, control. And then there's the phallic stage, where a child's focus shifts to the genitals. And Freud argued that if you got stuck or fixated in any one of these stages, it would lead to very specific personality traits when you grew up. And it's during that phallic stage that Freud drops his most famous, and without a doubt his most fiercely debated theory of all, the Oedipus complex.
Yep, that's the core of it, named after that old Greek tragedy. Freud proposed that deep in the unconscious, a young boy develops this desire for his mother and starts to see his own father as a rival for her love.
Okay, but let's be super clear here. He was not talking about actual murder. This is all symbolic. It's a psychological drama about the subconscious drive to replace the father, to take on his authority and his role. It's a battle for identity, not a literal fight.
So here's how Freud saw this whole drama playing out. The boy eventually resolves this conflict by starting to identify with his father, becoming like him. Now, for girls, Freud came up with a much more controversial idea involving something he called penis envy, which causes her to desire her father and blame her mother. But ultimately, for Freud, both paths lead to the same place. The child identifies with the same-sex parent, and that's how our adult identities are formed.
Now, as you can probably imagine, theories about childhood sexuality and symbolically killing your father, well, they didn't exactly get a warm welcome. So let's talk about Freud's incredibly complicated and contested legacy.
So why was there so much resistance? Well, Freud actually had a theory about that too. He said his work was the third great narcissistic wound to humanity's ego. First, Copernicus told us we weren't the center of the universe. Ouch. Then Darwin came along and showed us we're just another animal. Double ouch.
And then came Freud, who delivered the final and maybe most painful blow. We aren't even the masters of our own minds. The idea that our free will might be an illusion, that we're controlled by these deep, dark forces we can't even see, that was a deeply unsettling idea for a world that prided itself on reason.
And this tension really gets to the heart of his legacy. I mean, was he a scientist? Get this, he was nominated for the Nobel Prize in Medicine 12 times, but he never won. The scientific community just couldn't get on board with theories you couldn't prove or disprove. And then, in this great twist, he won one of Germany's highest honors, the Goethe Prize, for literature. It's like the world was saying, we're not so sure this is science, but man, is it a good story.
And that really leaves us with the big question about Freud's legacy, doesn't it? Did he actually map the human mind, or did he just give us a powerful, compelling new story to help us make sense of who we are? You know, maybe the real answer is he was a little bit of both.